Power was not taken from women because men were stronger. That explanation is convenient and false. Power was taken because women possessed forms of authority that could not be monopolized. Authority rooted in birth, the healing, continuity, memory, and social cohesion. Authority that could not be passed down a male line. Authority that did not require permission. This was the problem. Before formal states, before organized religion, before written law, women were not symbols. They were infrastructure. Women controlled childbirth and population survival, medicine and botanical knowledge, food systems and storage, oral history and cultural transmission. Anthropology confirms this. Early societies depended less on domination and more on cooperation, and women were central to that equilibrium. Men did not overthrow women with superiority. They restructured reality so that women's power would stop being visible. The decisive weapon was not violence alone, it was abstraction. Women's embodied knowledge was replaced with written law. Written law was controlled by men. Women's authority over life was replaced with ownership over land. Land ownership was denied to women. Women's spiritual roles were replaced with male intermediaries. Those intermediaries called themselves priests. This is where religion enters not as faith, but as technology of control. The rise of patriarchal religion coincides precisely with the removal of women from power. Female deities were erased or domesticated. Goddesses became saints, then symbols, then warnings. Creation myths were rewritten so that woman came second, woman came from man, woman caused the fall woman, required supervision. This was not theology. It was political architecture. By redefining women as morally dangerous, religion justified surveillance. By redefining obedience as virtue, it normalized submission. By redefining suffering as sacred, it sanctified abuse. Once women were cut off from education, property, and authority, survival became conditional. Marriage was no longer partnership. It was access to resources. Sex was no longer relational. It was currency. Motherhood was no longer honored. It was obligation. And then came the final cruelty. Women were shamed for the strategies they used to survive systems designed to trap them. If a woman married for safety, she was called opportunistic. If she used her body, she was called immoral. If she endured violence, she was called patient. If she resisted, she was called monstrous. Patriarchy did not only exploit women, it made women complicit in their own erasure by punishing any alternative. Then came the cleansing. Midwives, healers, widows, unmarried women, women who inherited land, women who spoke too clearly. They were not burned because they were witches. They were burned because they were independent nodes of power. The witch hunts were not superstition. They were a gendered purge, a coordinated removal of women who threatened centralized male authority. Millions tortured, publicly humiliated, executed as warnings. This was not history's accident. It was enforcement. The consequences did not end. Modern violence against women does not appear from nowhere. It emerges from centuries of entitlement, legal, religious, and cultural, over women's bodies and autonomy. When a woman asserts independence, leaves, refuses, succeeds, she disrupts a script that has been enforced for generations. That disruption is what patriarchy has always punished. We do not speak this to cultivate hatred. We speak it because forgetting is a form of betrayal. We remember our sisters who were used, who were violated, who were silenced, who were burned, not for crimes, but for existing as women outside control. We remember the women whose names were erased so thoroughly that even their suffering was reframed as necessity. We remember, and remembrance is not passive. It informs how we protect, how we legislate, how we refuse silence, how we recognize control when it disguises itself as tradition, faith, or nature. Power was stolen, but memory survived. And memory is where accountability begins. We remember, and we will act accordingly. Patriarchy does not chase women with chains anymore. It calls them back with emotion, because force creates resistance, but guilt creates obedience. Guilt is the most efficient leash ever created for women. Women are trained from childhood to feel responsible for other people's emotions, family stability, male disappointment, social harmony. This is not empathy. This is conditioned liability. A woman is made to feel guilty for wanting more, leaving, saying no, prioritizing herself, not fixing broken men. The system frames her withdrawal as cruelty. You're abandoning your role. You're selfish. You're heartless. You're destroying the family. What is never questioned is why her presence was required to keep everyone else functioning. Guilt works because women are taught that care equals morality. And once care is moralized, refusal becomes sin. Romance is one of patriarchy's most refined instruments. Romantic narratives train women to interpret self-sacrifice as love, endurance as loyalty, silence as maturity, suffering as depth. Women are taught to wait, to invest, to nurture potential. Men are selling the illusion of love. Romance convinces women that inequality is temporary, that patience will be rewarded, that love will transform imbalance into partnership. It rarely does. Romance is how patriarchy convinces women to voluntarily accept conditions they would reject in any other domain of life. Morality is the final lock. When women begin to detach emotionally, sexually, reproductively, the system does not argue practicality. It argues virtue. A good woman forgives. A good woman stays. A good woman understands. A good woman sacrifices. Morality reframes exploitation as character. If a woman leaves, she is not just leaving a man. She is violating a moral identity that was carefully constructed for her. This is why women are judged more harshly for boundaries than men are judged for harm. Morality keeps women performing goodness even when goodness is killing them. The loop, guilt, keeps women emotionally available. Romance keeps them hopeful. Morality keeps them compliant. This loop does not require constant male enforcement. Women internalize it and self-police. That is the brilliance and cruelty of the design. The system weakens the moment a woman asks one forbidden question: who benefits from my sacrifice? Not, is this loving? Not, is this moral? But who gains power from my endurance? Once that question is asked, guilt loses authority. Romance loses mystique. Morality loses its weaponization. Women are not cold for withdrawing. They are not broken for refusing. They are not immoral for choosing themselves. They are simply stepping out of a role that was never designed for their freedom. An interruption is how systems end.